Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to you as well. Today, we're telling another story time. Today, we're talking about the time that I found out that I was the side, the mac and cheese, the greens. Not the entree, but still pretty great, right? If you're new here, hi, my name is Francesca. I make vlogs, hauls, routines, and everything in between. So if you love any of that, just go ahead and hit subscribe. Like, why would you not want to? This is interesting, okay? I also tell a lot of story times, and so you guys should definitely check out my story time playlist as well. It is linked in the description. Before we get started, I do want to let you all know that everybody's names in this story have been changed. Even people that you have met before, and you know I have changed their names to kind of save the security of this individual. Be nice in the comments because we have met peace and forgiven one another for this experience. So just be nice. Be nice, okay? Let's get into it. So this story time goes back to 2016. If you're following along with all my story times and you're paying attention, this is like right after that big blow up of a breakup. I actually end up leaving the college that I was originally first at, with that toxic roommate and all this other kind of stuff, and I am taking a gap semester at this point in time. I am working 2 jobs and just trying to get it together. I've lost a whole lot of friends during the whole toxic boyfriend situation, but at the same time, I had also created a culture of a lot of creatives. I've always surrounded myself around people who create, whether that's YouTube, music, art, just creatives. So those were kind of the friends that I really fell back on when I came back home. And so I started hanging out with all of them, and a lot of times I ran into their mutuals and got to know them as well. So the person that we're going to be talking about today in the story, we're going to call him Tyler. I don't know why that's the name I'm going with, but your name's Tyler. So Tyler had actually been someone that I had ran into while I was still in high school, and I didn't know it. We had been at the same event, and we were introduced, and I don't think either one of us were in like a good headspace. Like, I later on learned he had something going on that day, I had a whole lot going on that day, and we just did not really pay any attention to each other whatsoever. Not like in a rude way, it was just like there was a lot going on. So fast forward 2016, I am going to an event with one of my friends. This friend hits me up and he's like, hey, we're all about to go to this event and we need some help planning for this picture that we needed. And so we're like, okay, cool. We're going to all get together. We're all going to support each other, go to this event, and work through what image is going to work best for this particular project. And so dude's like, hey, do you mind if my friend Tyler carpools with us? It just makes sense for all of us to go in the same car. And at the time, I did not have a car. I don't even think I had my driver's license yet. So I was like, yeah, cool. Let's all go together. Why not? So they come pick me up from my apartment, and we all go in the car together. And the first thing I noticed is I'm like, all right, I know this man's face, but like I had not paid attention to him at all. I was like, he's an attractive kid. Like, started kind of zeroing in on that. We get to the event, and another dude who like is also in this same circle. We're not like super close with this person. I'm gonna just call him Nathan for the sake of calling him Nathan. Nathan starts trying to talk to me. Nathan starts getting in my face. Nathan's like, oh, your top's so pretty. This is so pretty. Like, oh, you know, do you want to hear what I'm gonna be working on? Da 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 da. Like, Nathan is overwhelming me, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I was over it, and I just wanted it to stop because I get very overwhelmed sometimes if people just kind of like talk at me. And that's what was happening. Like, I was overwhelmed. And Tyler kind of noticed that, and I think also a little bit out of jealousy too, because Nathan was getting my attention, but not because I wanted to give it. He was demanding it. So Tyler kind of interjected and started like talking to me and moved himself physically closer to me and really kind of did the whole like, back up, dude. Like, give her space. I'm gonna stay in her space, but you give her space. So he did that whole thing for me, and I really appreciated that because that was stressful. And so we ended up talking. Like, we got to know each other. He was like, why'd you come back? Why'd you leave school? You know, we just spent that whole night talking. So event's over. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I get a Facebook message because we didn't have each other's phone numbers, and he was like, you know, you're pretty cool. I really like enjoyed spending time with you. I enjoyed talking to you. Like, we should hang out. And I was like, yeah, we should hang out. And now, mind you guys, I do have a lot. And when I say a lot, like, primarily male friends, especially at this point in time in the story. So, even though, like, I was like, he's kind of attractive, my brain was like, we could be cool friends, you know? Especially because all of us were in the same kind of circle. It just made sense, right? So, I'm like, all right, cool. We can hang out. I think we hang out probably, like, once or twice. Each time, really enjoyed it. A lot of it kind of became work-oriented. It was like, oh, I have this project working on. Can you pay attention to this? Can you look at this? Can you check this out for me? What do you think about this? I was thinking about these visuals. Like, it was really, really project-based in a lot of senses, but it was still flirty. Like, you know, you knew. Like, we knew. But at the same time, we were like, nah, that's not what's happening. So, I will say that this situation escalated super quick. Next thing I know, by the time that we've been kind of hanging out with each other, spending time with each other, my gap semester is over, my spring semester starting, and I'm in school. We probably see each other at a few events. You know, we've started texting each other. You know, like I said, it was very, very flirty. Very, very flirty. But at the same time, I was like, I work 2 jobs. I am in school. Like, this is a lot. And then I also just had, like, some other stuff going on, too. Like, I had, like, a very close person to me from, like, my childhood come back into my life as well. So I was kind of toggling with that, and what did that person mean to me? It's so just stressful. But spring break came, and I was like, I need a break. Like, I need an actual break. Couldn't afford a vacation, couldn't do a staycation, like, your girl was just trying to survive at that point in time. And so Tyler hits me up and he's like, yo, I have a new house. I want you to come hang out at my house with me. And yeah, so I come to this house a little bit before spring break. He actually makes dinner. Him and his best friend makes dinner for me and his best friend's girlfriend. And it was a really cool vibe. It was like a cute little, like, double date. You know, we were all goofing around, we played some games, and it was really the moment that I was like, I could be with this person. Like, I genuinely could see myself being with this person. And that's when my switch clicked. And I will tell you guys, listen, I've grown so much, but, like, I will deny that I like someone for so long, but once I say that I do like them, once that point is there, once we get there, there's no stopping me. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm obsessed, but it's like, I'm gonna do what it takes if that person also wants to be there, to be successful in it, to give that person all my care, all of my attention. Like, I am 0 to 100 real quick. Like, I know that I like people, but I ignore it. But once I achieve that, like, understanding, you can forget it. So spring break came. Spring break, I went to go hang out at his house for, like, the first night of spring break. And so he had me watch the movie Aliens, right? Okay. I had never seen Aliens or Aliens vs. Predator in a whole, and he was obsessed. And I was like, okay, if I have to watch this, you have to watch, like, something else. I think it was Lord of the Rings was our agreement. But we spent the entire spring break watching Aliens. And although I kind of hate those movies, it was just great because we were able to kind of talk and, like, cook together, and sometimes people come over to work on certain projects or activities, and I'd, you know, be a part of that. I really got to know one of his closest friends, who is now, like, a good friend to me as well. I pretty much stayed at his house the majority of spring break. There was, like, 1 or 2 times that, like, I left, or, like, he wanted me to leave, or, you know, things would go through. And I think at the same time, when for me, spring break was, like, the best part of that entire relationship, I think for him, that was the most overwhelming part. You know, I feel like for him, it was like, everything felt so great, so good. We were gelling, we were really connecting, but at the same time, it was so much. It was really, like, 0 to 100, because there was no real talk or conversation. It was just, boom, here we are, we're together. Like, and then nonstop for, like, a week. And And soon after, so much stuff happened. Like the 2, 3, 4 weeks after that, within a month, I think, we still came back and forth and we started hanging out with each other. There was like a catastrophic, and I use the word catastrophic because when I say what happened ruined friendships, it ruined friendships. Like, it changed how I saw people. I might do a story time about this at some other point in time, but pretty much we had a group of friends and we were all working on projects together. And one of our friends, who at the time was a little bit more of a bossy, controlling, manipulative type person, decided to make some decisions that the group did not agree with. And the decisions strongly negatively affected Tyler. We'll just call this other friend Leon for right now. I had known Leon since high school. Like, me and Leon went to high school together. He is the reason why I knew all these other people. And it just, the way he handled things rubbed me the wrong way. But I was very much so trying to be the diplomat. I was trying to be the, we all need to understand each other. I was trying to be the psychologist when this all falls apart. And I was like, we don't need to fall apart as friends. Let's work this out. And I think Tyler took that as me not being on his side. And I never at any point in time said that he was wrong. I think he said some things that were way off base that he should have never said. But the situation all started from Leon making the choice that he made. And I hate that whole thing happened, because I feel like after that, there was like so much trust that was just initially given without having to be built up, and then all of that was taken away from that situation. Time goes by, we still keep going on like little dinner dates, I still come over, and slowly but surely I start to feel him kind of like drift away from me, and I don't like it, and it feels terrible. And at some point, he kind of ends up ghosting me. Like, we'll be honest, this is also like the beginning half of this is how I got ghosted. Yeah, and so time goes by, we basically end up breaking up, we are no longer together, and I'm just like, alright, well, I guess that's it, And I kind of accept it pretty well. We're still in the same circle, so we see each other, and it's always so awkward. And I'm a bold person. I'm the type of person, when something goes wrong, I'm gonna be like, hey, come here, sit down. Listen, this is what happened. This is how I feel about it. Tell me how you feel about it. All right, okay, did we get to a consensus about it? Let's be adults and move on. Like, unless I don't feel like the person is capable of being an adult, like, that's gonna be how I squash things. I don't like holding on to things. But that ends up happening. Now, so that was 2016. Now we're about to fast forward to 2018. So in between 2016 and 2018, I have like a lot of like self-discovery. I start to learn a little bit more about myself. I end up kind of getting towards the end of school, and so I'm learning a lot with that. I'm still taking on a lot of responsibilities at my jobs that I'm at. And I've moved into a house now with a roommate, as opposed to being in my own place or staying with my mother. So I'm like in a totally different vibe, mindset. There are so many other things going on. Just so much has changed. I have a car now. I can drive. And I've gotten to the point now that I'm comfortable with kind of dipping my toe in the dating scene, figuring out what's going on. I'm also old enough to be able to go out and hang out with my friends appropriately, and just a lot changes, So 2018 rolls around, and Tyler hits me up, and he's like, I really just want to sit down and talk to you, and I need some advice about this new project. I'm like, bet. Everybody hits me up about projects, whether it's visual, audio, art. People contact me and they're like, she is a consumer of content, let me talk to her. So it's normal for that to happen, and I really genuinely thought it was just about the project. So we end up meeting up downtown, and he starts to really tell me about this project, and honestly it was a really great idea, and there was a lot of ways that you could have mixed it and moved it. I mean, it didn't end up coming to fruition, but still a good idea. Tyler, if you're watching this, you know who you are. That was a good idea. But so we get done kind of talking about the project. He's like, something else I want to talk about. I'm like, alright, what else you want to talk about? Pretty much, he's like, you know, I'm sorry, I apologize, I hadn't grown enough when we were together, like, there's a lot going on, and he was like, I hate that I didn't have the opportunity for a second chance, blah, 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 like, you know, not so much really apologizing, but it's a conversation of, like, look, this is what's happening, I regret a lot of things, and I come to him, and I'm like, you know, listen, I definitely understand. You know, I was not the best person at that time either. So much has happened to change and grow me too. So I get it. I understand, and I know how you feel, and let's just work on being friends. We'll pause for a second here. Y'all are probably like, now how were you the side piece and this is the main character and y'all separated ways? Yeah, again, younger Francesca, not responsible. Post 25 Francesca, great. We love her. We support her. 21 and younger, but like anytime between 14 and like 22, we pray for that, Francesca. Okay, that's what we do. So we are being friends, and pretty much we go back to talking to each other if we're honest with ourselves, like full on flirting, full on like everything. And when we end up leaving that day from like talking about the project, like we end up kissing each other before I go in the house, and I'm like, in retrospect, I'm like, kid, what are you doing? Like, that makes no sense, but it happened, right? So we end up like talking, really getting back into that groove, really, like, we're both very playful people, so there's like a very thin line between like our playfulness and our flirting. And one day I decide, I'm like, hey, listen, I want to go roller skating, right? And I don't know what possessed me to want to go roller skating, and I was like, I really want to go roller skating. And I was just kind of talking about it, and he was like, well, let's go roller skating. And I was like, all right, when? And he's like, well, let's go roller skating like Friday night. I don't know what day this was, but we're gonna say Friday night. And I'm like, cool. But on Friday night, I did promise my friend Hope that I would hang out with her. Can she come too? And he was like, yeah, your friend Hope can come, and I'm gonna bring my friend Tyrone. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, bring Tyrone. First off, I'm thinking this is like a double date situation. It was like, you know, Hope single, I thought Tyrone would be single, and he was like trying to put those two together because he had been around Hope and he knew who she was. And I was like, all right, cool, yeah, let's do that. Hope ends up bringing one of her friends with her too, which kind of makes things awkward. We meet Tyrone, we're at a skating rink, everything's going cool, fine, like everybody's like laughing, kicking it off. This dude Tyrone's super cool, like really, really cool. And then Tyrone mentioned something about his girlfriend, and I was like, oh, you got a girlfriend? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, she's probably not about to be too happy about the fact that I'm, you know, out here skating with 3 girls and Tyler. And I was like, honestly, I thought this was like some weird blind date thing happening. Didn't know you had a girlfriend. And so that was like the first red flag of the night. I was like, okay. So this isn't a double date thing. Gotcha. And then, so time goes by, and there's this little girl, and Lord, help me. This girl is probably nothing but like 13, 14 years old, right? And she is in a crop top and like super, super short shorts. Like, she is a child, okay? She should not be in those clothes, but also people should not sexualize her for those. It was a lot going on with her. You know, she had a full face of makeup on, and she kept like going by and like flirting with Tyler and Tyrone and like, you know, making kissy faces. It was weird, right? I thought it was funny. Like, she's a child, so I wasn't upset by it. I was worried because I'm like, where's your mom? Like, that was my response. I was like, where's your mother? But I also did think it was funny. Like, I wasn't like bothered by it that way. But that situation prompts Tyrone to say, if she come over here, you need to tell her that you have a girlfriend. Okay. All right. So I paused for a second. That kind of gets mulled over. We start joking. And I'm the type of person, like, I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna remember something and I'm gonna start thinking and calculating and just be like that meme with the numbers flying around. I'm gonna be like, because we were talking, but we never established that we were dating again. We never established like titles, boyfriend, girlfriend. So my friends like Hope is like, girl, I'm pretty sure Tyrone was talking about you. And I'm like, you know what? Cool, fine. So time goes by. We all get in separate cars and decide to go downtown to get food, right? And we all get in our separate cars, and I'm in the car with Hope and her friend, and then Tyrone and Tyler are in a car together. And I'm just like, while I'm driving downtown, I'm just sitting there like, nah, something not right about that. The way he said that, something not right about that. Because I'm like, if he was talking about me, wouldn't he be like, girl, you better tell her that's your man, or like something like that? It just felt weird, I just, it didn't feel right. But I keep going because I'm hungry. We're gonna go downtown, we're gonna get some food. So we get food, and we're walking around because we're going to get cheesecake by this dessert place. And I just get in a whole mood. Like, I get quiet, I get mad, and I'm like, nah, that don't make sense. Thankfully, somebody that they knew ends up being outside of this dessert place. Tyler ends up staying outside, to talk to this person, and Tyrone comes in before he does. And so I look at Tyrone and I'm like, you said something earlier. And he was like, what's that? And Tyrone already knew. Tyrone was like, I put 2 and 2 together. I already knew, like, it was a wrap. It was done. Like, he already put the pieces together, and he was like, look, I'm going to just have to be honest with her. So I was like, you said something about a girlfriend earlier, that Tyler had a girlfriend? Did Tyler tell you we were dating, or? And Tyrone's like, nah. I'm like, okay, you want to elaborate? And he was like, Tyler told me not too long ago that he has a girlfriend, that he met da-da-da-da-da-da, and it's not you. Because of how he met her, and he was like, I put the context together, and he told me that we were coming here to hang out with some of his friends, never exposed to me that I was hanging out with 3 girls. When I started seeing y'all interact with each other, I was like, this feels very weird, because it feels like they're like together, but I know they're not because he's dating this other girl. And so come to find out, Tyler had a whole nother girlfriend, came to talk to me about business, and decided, you know what, I'm gonna switch it up real quick and I'm gonna make this more personal. And yeah, that happened. Shout out to Tyrone. Tyrone, you know who you are. Me and Tyrone ended up getting like really close from that, because I was very emotional, because it was like we got to a point of apologies, we got to a point of I'm sorry, and then so much other stuff was happening around me that I was like, why would you move to hurt me so bad like that? I lost it, I'm gonna be honest. We went back to where our cars were, and I stayed quiet the whole time at the cheesecake place. We got back to where our cars was, and he went to hug me goodbye, and I was like, nah. Listen, first off, I know you have a girlfriend. And he's looking at Tyrone like, why would you do that to me? And I'm like, why would you do this to me? Like, what? And I just addressed the whole situation. And then he was like, okay, like, I need us to talk privately. And he's like, I got to pick something up for the gas station. Can we go to the gas station? I went off during that ride. I'm not even going to, like, talk about that ride, because I was not myself. I was acting out of character. And it was just wasn't good. It was not good. I was done. I was upset. I was mad. And, he was coming up with excuses and all this other kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, look, do you not have a girlfriend? Yes. Okay, cool. I'm not here to wreck no homes. I'm not here to break up relationships. And what's wild about this whole situation later on is, like, this girl harbored so much hate in her heart for me later on, when really, girl, we should have been friends. And we should have been mad at him together. But I don't know what story she was told. I don't know how it was told at the time. She hated me, and she probably still hates me to this day, which is okay, but I didn't do anything to you except, honestly, I would have told you the truth if I knew who you were. I ended up investigating, figure out who she was, and it was somebody that we all knew, not well, but like we had seen her before, so we kind of knew who she was. it was just unfortunate, but thank God, that was years ago. And again, we have a lot of mutual friends. We have gotten to a point where we are cool, we are friends, we're forgiven, and we understand that we are strictly friends, and that is it. And I think that's great that we were able to get to a place of forgiveness, because I said a lot of things that I probably regretted that night. Rightfully so, though. Like, sometimes it's not the right thing, but sometimes you want to hurt people as bad as you're feeling hurt, and that's kind of what happened there. But so that's the story of both how I got ghosted, which I got like a bunch of those, but both how I got ghosted and how I became the side piece, the mac and cheese, the greens. If you guys enjoyed that story time, go ahead and make sure that you hit subscribe if you're not already. Put on those post notifications because, honey, I am cranking out this juicy content. Look, I'm a big believer of getting people's consent to tell stories, and I've just, like, the more people are like, yeah, I'm okay with this, but this or not, the more story times we're gonna get, because as soon as I get consent, I'm talking. So, make sure that you hit that subscribe button to see more. I hope that you guys have had a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you are not here cheating or doing anything wrong, because then I don't hope you had a wonderful rest of your day. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon.